Imagine waking up in absolute, suffocating darkness. Our guy is completely lost. He cannot see a single thing until suddenly a faint, mysterious glow pierces the pitch-black void. As the strange light slowly gets brighter, a shocking realization hits him. He is actually trapped inside an eggshell. A tiny crack in the shell acts as his only window to the outside. Peeking through, he spots a massive forest. Panic immediately sets in, especially when he realizes he is entirely paralyzed. But before he can freak out, a glowing holographic status screen pops up right before his eyes. His imaginary jaw drops. The system text spells out an unbelievable truth. He is a literal dragon egg. Mind completely blown, his main stat window expands, and a divine voice echoes in his mind, revealing his current stats and levels in cold, hard numbers. Completely bewildered by this isekai madness, he shouts out to the divine voice, desperately begging for an explanation. But the cold system voice simply rejects his plea, quietly stating it cannot compute requests for a pathetic level 1 scrub. Fueled by sheer rage, he fiercely wiggles his egg body, accidentally tipping himself right off his towering tree branch. He slams the dirt and wildly tumbles downhill, crashing to a halt beside a flowing river. Dazed, he glances down at the clear water. The rippling reflection confirms his worst nightmare. He truly is just a giant egg. Taking pity on this tragic sight, the divine voice finally decides to drop some actual lore. It brutally confirms his new reality. As a dragon egg, he is classified as an HF rank monster, the absolute bottom tier. If that fragile shell shatters, it is an instant game over. Peeking through that tiny crack earlier was already a massive death wish. The system then drops another bombshell. While he currently sits at the very bottom of the food chain, he holds the potential to evolve into a legendary, world-ending dragon. But there is a deadly catch. He has to survive first. Since monster beasts consider dragon eggs to be an ultra-rare, delicious snack, and since he literally lacks legs, his only escape route is rolling for his life. Still, struggling to process this insane survival game, our hero decides that camping out is a death sentence. He revs up his egg body and rolls out at max speed, desperate to escape. But his reckless driving instantly sends him plummeting off a jagged cliff, thanks to his constant tumbling. The system chimes in. Fall resistance has leveled up to level 2. Despite the buff, the brutal impact heavily drains his HP bar violently, reminding him that one wrong move means death. Exhausted and badly damaged, he decides to sleep off the pain. Miraculously, when he finally awakens, his health is back to 100%. He discovers that a simple nap is the ultimate healing potion, giving him a rare glimmer of hope in this ruthless fantasy world. Shaking off the dread, he keeps rolling forward, deeply questioning his destined evolution. What sort of beast will hatch from this shell? Will he become an apex predator, forced to wage endless war against high-level monsters just to live? Caught up in these epic thoughts, he slams the brakes. Hovering right in his path is a terrifying, giant insect, too far away. Sensing mortal danger, he ducks behind a tree and immediately activates his appraisal skill. The system prompt reveals the terrifying monster is known as the Egg Eater. True to its dreaded name, the second the giant insect spots him, it instantly lunges. It charges after him with overwhelming murderous intent. He rolls for his life as fast as he can, but deep down, he already knows he cannot outrun it forever just by rolling. At this fatal pace, he will eventually get devoured. He desperately needs to turn the tables right now. The vile worm relentlessly hunts him down, backing him to the very edge of a cliff. As it leaps forward to swallow him whole, he dodges at the very last split second. Using every single ounce of his strength, he slams right into the beast and manages to shove it off the fatal drop. The monster tumbles down the steep slope and dies instantly. This marks his very first victorious battle. The system prompt immediately chimes in. He gained 12 experience points and has finally reached level 5. Thanks to the level up, all of his stats are fully maxed out. Plus, he finally meets the hidden evolution conditions, granting him the rare choice to evolve into either a baby dragon or a little dragon. Since he currently has zero clue what the difference is, the helpful system steps in to explain the lore. The little dragon is a dwarf breed. Though tiny compared to purebred dragons, its fully grown adult-sized dwarfs a grizzly bear. It is fiercely famous everywhere for its devastating fire breath. As for the baby dragon, the system bluntly states that it is incredibly weak in combat with its tiny claws and fangs. However, it holds godlike potential and can eventually evolve into countless legendary dragon species. But naturally, baby dragons are hunted as a rare delicacy by greedy monsters and adventurers alike, making them a massive walking target wherever they roam. As expected, he locks in the little dragon because it is, clearly, the safest route for survival. But suddenly, right after making his choice, the divine voice embraces his soul, whispering to him never to limit his true potential. It reveals its grand expectations for him and declares he must aim for the absolute peak. Hearing this divine plea leaves him totally stunned. He begins to wonder if the voice intervened just because he took the coward's way out with a little dragon, instead of embracing the dangerous risk. He recalls the system stating the baby dragon holds infinite potential and can branch into god-tier forms. Connecting the dots, he starts to suspect the little dragon has a strict level cap, or worse, might not be able to evolve at all after hitting a dead end. With his pride on the line, he ultimately gambles everything on the baby dragon. He refuses to live with any regrets in this second life. Even if the path is pure hell, he won't look back and regret making a cowardly choice or chaining his own destiny out of fear. The system accepts his bold resolve. Wish granted. In the very next breath, blinding light engulfs him as he morphs into a yellow baby dragon, defying all odds. Along with this legendary evolution, he unlocks a barrage of new skills, and his base stats skyrocket to insane new heights. However, there is a catch. His health and mana pools do not refill after evolving, meaning he is running on empty. He desperately needs to rest before pushing his limits. But right at that moment, a massive rumble echoes his stomach roars with intense hunger, signaling a desperate need to feed. Right now, he glares at the fallen worm, and shockingly enough, the beast suddenly looks mouth-wateringly good. He knows if he wants to survive and level up, he needs raw protein. With that single thought, his primal dragon instincts awaken completely. Abandoning all his hesitation, he devours the monster. Full at last, he collapses into a deep sleep. As dawn breaks the next day, a surge of fresh energy flows through his entirely rested body. Walking to the river, he stares at his rippling reflection. The cold truth finally hits him. He has truly been reincarnated into this fantasy world. Yet, the eerie part is that his past life memories are completely wiped clean. He cannot recall his true identity, his former human lifestyle, or even if he was male or female. As his existential crisis peaks, he slowly turns around only to face a fresh swarm of dark worms. But this time, instead of fleeing in fear, he fiercely charges into battle, unleashing skills to crush the first wave instantly. As the slaughter of monsters continues, he rapidly unlocks extra combat skills, turning this desperate fight into a completely one-sided massacre. With the horde destroyed, intense hunger strikes again. But, remembering their foul, garbage-like taste, he refuses to eat another worm. So, he spots some wild mushrooms and greedily takes a massive bite. That quickly turns into a fatal error. Agony hits as he realizes the mushrooms are highly toxic. Barely surviving the agonizing poison, he makes a solemn vow that he will never touch strange forest plants again. Lesson learned, he fiercely marches deeper into the woods to hunt real game. Surviving on nasty bugs is no longer an option. Prowling through the shadows, he eventually spots a giant gray wolf. Despite the massive size difference, he fearlessly unleashes his baby breath and dragon punch, striking it dead. His fiery attack scorches the beast's hide, and as the smoke clears, a mouth-watering aroma hits his nose. Wild barbecue. Drooling, he uses his flames to roast the meat to perfection. One heavenly bite proves is an absolute culinary masterpiece. Right after, he encounters a second gray wolf, instantly obliterating it with ease. This epic victory skyrockets his status to level 20 out of 25. Now, he realizes he only needs 5 more levels before he can trigger his glorious evolution. With his fresh prey secured, he grills the beast masterfully, slowly, accepting that this ruthless dragon lifestyle is becoming his new reality. Hunting, battling, and devouring foes is completely second nature now. Yet, despite his rising power, having only the system's divine voice for company is leaving him completely isolated. Staring into the endless forest, he finds himself desperately wishing for a true companion by his side. Miraculously, fate answers his lonely prayer. Almost instantly, a sudden sound echoes out. He catches faint voices drifting through the deep woods. He absolutely cannot understand their foreign words, but a wave of absolute relief washes over him, because those are human voices. Heart racing, he hastily scrambles to hide behind a massive tree trunk, peeking out to spy on a wandering party of brave adventurers. For a split second, he considers revealing his true form too. He wants to say hi, but reality hits. He is a monster now. Because of this, he fears they'll attack on sight. Yet, clinging to hope, he figures his tiny, harmless and cute appearance might save him from their blades. Maybe they'll even adopt him as a cute pet. Fueled by this naive hope, he boldly steps out from the shadows of the tree, standing right in front of the party, pulling out his best puppy dog eyes. Unfortunately, his flawless plan crumbles. These hunters don't see a cute pet, they only see a walking sack of rare loot and meat. Without a second thought, the party leader ruthlessly slashes his chest with a heavy blade. Instantly, a paralyzing spell hits him, turning his entire body completely numb. Movement becomes impossible. He thrashes around, desperate to escape, but his frozen muscles betray him. Pinned to the cold ground, totally helpless, he watches the grinning hunters close in on him, weapons raised for the kill. A bitter realization strikes his mind: dragons and humans can never be friends. After all the hell he endured, grinding to evolve and survive, it is all crashing down into a pathetic, meaningless death. But just as the leader's sword swings down for the final execution, a female party member suddenly jumps in front of the blade. She scolds her boss, refusing to execute. Such a tiny, innocent little creature. Baffled, the main character wonders why he is not dead yet. Suddenly, a gentle, soothing warmth begins, flowing through his torn scales. Looking up, he is stunned to see the girl casting advanced healing magic. Firing up his appraisal skill, he uncovers her name, Maria. Despite her dangerously low mana, she burns it all to save him. As Maria speaks softly, the system chimes, announcing he has unlocked the Greek language skill. With a few level ups, he will finally understand human speech, but this peaceful blessing is shattered in an instant. Terrifying screams erupt from the dark woods. Maria's face goes pale. She instantly recognizes her teammates' voices. Without a second thought, she blindly charges forward to save them. He snaps awake, biting her sleeve to hold her back. He frantically signs, warning her that an absolute nightmare awaits ahead. It is suicide, to go alone. But Maria tears away and dashes into danger, leaving him. He freezes. Can he really cower in the dirt while his savior walks into the jaws of death? Igniting his courage, he forces his trembling legs to sprint after her. But arriving at the bloodbath, his blood runs cold. Looming ahead is a C-rank catastrophe, a towering rock dragon. Worse, it boasts 197 GP. It would take a divine miracle and crazy firepower to slay it. Maria is already bleeding out, and when he cries out to her, the massive beast locks its deadly gaze on him. Staring into the eyes of an apex predator, absolute terror paralyzes his soul, and he wonders if this is where his respawn ends. Panic overriding his senses, he scrambles into the thick bushes, curling into a pathetic ball of fear. His mind spirals out of control. How can a tiny hatchling survive this boss fight? But the moment he peeks through the trembling leaves, seeing Myra sprawled out with just 6 health points, his dread twists into absolute panic. Before reason kicks in, the system's divine voice suddenly commands him to run for his life. It harshly warns that if he fights that beast head-on, he faces certain death. That grim truth spikes his heart rate. Deep down, he knows the divine warning is absolute. He lacks the power and experience to challenge a rock dragon of such terrifying scale. The most logical survival tactic is to turn tail and sprint away. It is the only rational choice. Yet, despite knowing the fatal odds, he refuses to abandon Myra to a gruesome death. Banishing his hesitation, he bursts into action. He barely evades the rock dragon's massive strike, then instantly counters with a fierce blow to its face. Glancing sideways, he quickly spots the familiar adventurers from earlier. Tragically, one is already gone, while the other clings to life with just 5 health points left. A desperate plan forms. He aims to lure the rock dragon away, buy some precious time, and circle back to rescue the survivor if possible. He turns and sprints, pushing his limits to escape. But before he gets far, the titanic beast slams the earth, unleashing a violent tremor. The shockwave ruins his balance, sending him crashing down. As he scrambles to his feet, the monstrous rock dragon charges head-on, closing the deadly gap in a flash. The massive creature looms right over him. As it lunges for the kill, he instinctively reacts, throwing a blazing, fire-coated punch squarely into the beast's face. A direct hit. He expects this desperate strike to wipe out at least half its health. But to his absolute horror, the creature suddenly triggers rapid regeneration, fully restoring its health instantly. Even so, he spots a silver lining. While the monster heals, he finally has the perfect window to grab Myra and flee. But right before retreating, guilt strikes him. That injured adventurer is still breathing nearby. Yet deep down, he knows he lacks the strength and time to save them both. Agonizing over the grim reality, he makes the heartbreaking choice to abandon the stranger to his fate, focusing entirely on Myra. He hoists Maria up and dashes into the dense forest, running like the wind. Suddenly, he freezes. A foul, familiar scent hits his nose. Gray wolves are close. His instincts never lie. Seconds later, a vicious pack of gray wolves hunt him down while she rests on his back. He sprints with all his might, but the beasts quickly encircle them, cutting off every single escape route. Minutes later, Maria weakly opens her eyes, witnessing him brutally slaughtering the gray wolves alone, armed with just his bare hands and tearing teeth, before passing out again. After every gray wolf is defeated, he marches on, carrying Myra through the forest once more. Finally, a small human settlement appears on the horizon. Desperate, he screams out for help, praying for a miracle rescue. But exactly as he feared, the villagers treat him like a terrifying monster. Without mercy, a spear pierces his flesh as the others ready their weapons at him. He frantically tries, explaining he means no harm, that he only wants to save Myra. But the humans cannot understand a single word he speaks. Realizing that arguing with them is completely useless, he gently places Myra down for the humans to heal her. Then, he quickly retreats before they can strike again. Once he is gone, the humans rush to treat Myra's wounds. From afar, he feels relieved knowing she is finally safe. Walking away, the harsh reality hits him. Humans and dragons may never truly become friends. Defeated, he quietly returns to his home deep in the woods. The next day, Maria wakes up in a bed where she sees Marielle staring down at her. Marielle explains that Myra was severely injured and brought to her home for proper medical treatment. She reveals that Maria had been completely unconscious for 2 full days. Maria falls back, her mind racing as she wonders who exactly it was that carried her from the forest to the village. At first, she assumes it was her comrades Grants and Da. Anxiously, she asks where they are. Marielle coldly reveals Grants is dead. His lifeless body was found in the forest. As for Da, his body vanished without a trace, so they assume the rock dragon devoured him. Marielle calls Grants and Da absolute idiots for challenging a rock dragon, foolishly thinking they ever stood a chance of winning. Maria is completely shattered hearing her comrades were eaten. Guilt crashes over her as she blames herself for everything that happened. But Marielle stops her from punishing herself, bluntly saying it is a blessing that Maria survived instead, since her comrades were stubborn fools who never listened. Hearing this, Maria begins to remember how Da was always the first in their village to bravely fight monsters wandering too close. Many village children idolized him and admired his fearless bravery. However, there was one dark incident where Da encountered a rock dragon and cowardly fled instead of fighting. Because of this shameful event, villagers began ruthlessly teasing him for being terrified of the rock dragon and fleeing instead of holding his ground. Da took this personally, his pride deeply wounded. He swore an oath that the next time he faced a rock dragon, he would slay it no matter the cost. Then, 2 days ago, Da grew dangerously obsessed with proving he was the strongest adventurer alive. He lied, falsely claiming Marielle had given him permission to go hunt a rock dragon. Maria tried desperately to warn him, screaming that it was a suicide mission. But Da let his arrogant pride win and refused to back down. Insisting on hunting the rock dragon, he cruelly managed to pressure and guilt-trip Maria into joining him. That is exactly why Marielle calls Da a reckless fool. His blinding pride ended up costing him his very life in the end. Despite this tragedy, Marielle is amazed that Maria managed to survive the ordeal without suffering any fatal injuries at all. Maria then insists someone mysterious carried her out of the forest, but Marielle swiftly interrupts, calling that utterly impossible. She explains that no sane adventurer would risk their life saving a wounded stranger from a beast as terrifying as a rock dragon. Even so, Maria insists she clearly remembers a mysterious savior carrying her home. Marielle insists that Maria's memories are just a blurry mess from the heavy blow she took during the fierce battle. Still, Maria cannot accept this excuse, since she vividly recalls being saved by a dragon. Thinking deeply about it, she wonders, was it truly that tiny dragon who saved her life and carried her safely to the village? The next day, our dragon wakes up, bursting with energy. He is amazed by how much his battle wounds healed. After just 1 night of sleep, he realizes if he were still a mere human, there is 0 chance he would recover this fast. A frail human body simply could never heal overnight. Brushing those thoughts aside, he gazes up at the sky, deeply worried about Myra and praying she is safe and sound. Flashbacks of the rock dragon battle hit him hard. His attacks barely scratched it, leaving him feeling utterly powerless. Driven by the sting of That memory, a blazing fire of motivation, awakens within his soul. He vows to achieve absolute strength, no matter the cost, so he can protect those in danger. Fueled by this new resolve, he immediately begins grinding, by tracking down a horde of dark worms and wiping them out, hoping to gain enough XP to unlock his next evolution. Soon enough, the system chimes with a notification. He has finally reached level 25, fully meeting the requirements to evolve. Unlike his previous state with just 2 options to choose from, 5 epic evolution paths now unfold before him. He feels deeply conflicted about which path to choose. The divine voice steps in to guide his destiny. The system voice starts by breaking down the mini-dragon, explaining its tiny form resembles his current baby dragon state, but its growth rate is painfully slow with garbage future evolution potential. He instantly loses interest upon hearing that, since slow growth is exactly what he hates. He demands the system explain the next options instead. The divine voice details each evolutionary path one by one, but the ultimate game changer that completely hooks his attention is the young plague dragon. This rare class is described as the very first stage of an evil dragon, bringing absolute disaster wherever it goes. Its perks include high intelligence and the legendary ability to use a human transformation skill. This would let him turn human and freely visit human villages again. At first, he immediately rejects the idea of being the spawn of a demonic dragon, but after a brief pause, it suddenly clicks in his mind: human transformation. His face burns bright red as he imagines freely walking through bustling towns in a human body whenever he wants. Even so, picking this dark path guarantees he will mutate into a plague-bearing evil dragon. He finds himself paralyzed at this crossroads, fully aware that one wrong move could doom his entire future. He knows that becoming a young plague dragon sounds like a terrible idea, but his soul is dying with worry for Myra. Plus, his burning desire to unlock that human transformation skill is too strong. Bracing himself, he makes his final choice and declares his evolution into a young plague dragon. The divine voice accepts his dark path, and the epic evolution immediately begins. The agonizing evolution process ends. As the intense glowing aura fades, he peers into the water's reflection. That is when the horrifying reality hits him. He looks absolutely hideous now. Suddenly, the system's divine voice echoes, announcing his newly awakened skills. At first, he feels absolutely thrilled. Hearing his stats skyrocket makes him feel like an absolute god, full of hope. But that hype instantly shatters when he spots the cursed, evil skills he just acquired. The sheer number of dark, sinister abilities leaves him terrified. Just what kind of demonic monster is he turning into? Worse yet, the entire reason he even picked this specific evolution path was to work and unlock the human transformation skill. But scanning his new status window, that crucial skill is completely missing. Furious, he demands the divine voice to explain. Does he need to reach a higher level first to unlock it? As always, the system is utterly useless, coldly stating that it cannot answer his query since his level is only 3. This robotic rejection just fuels his massive headache. The system then mercilessly continues listing the fine details of his cursed status. With every terrifying skill revealed, his jaw drops lower. Venomous plagues, cruel curses, abilities designed to spread pure death and ruin. With each notification, his sanity slowly crumbles. He realizes this dragon form is pure, apocalyptic evil. Right now, he regrets everything. He just wants to rewind time and go back to being a cute little dragon, not this nightmarish lord of the plague. Meanwhile, Marielle and Myra head out to restore the warding stones. Myra is still lost in thought, debating if the beast that saved her life was real or just an illusion. Marielle takes this deadly serious. She deduces that if a beast bypassed their barriers due to shattered warding stones, then their defensive lines are critically compromised. Right after she flawlessly re-enchants the stones, Maria suddenly begs Marielle to teach her everything she knows about monsters. Marielle spots Myra's intense, strange obsession with beasts. Ever since that fateful encounter, Maria explains that she cannot shake the overwhelming gut feeling that the monster was actually trying to protect her. That burning thought haunts her mind, fueling her desperate thirst for monster knowledge. Marielle figures that sharing some survival basics with Maria will not hurt, so the lesson begins. She firmly explains that monsters gain terrifying power through evolution, usually by brutally hunting down prey to rapidly level up. Marielle notes that the concept of levels applies to humanity too, as awakeners can also improve their stats through combat experience, but a monster's system is far more terrifying. She reveals that when beasts hit their maximum level cap, their growth does not end there. Instead, they trigger an evolution into a higher tier entity. From there, the endless cycle repeats. Hunt, level up, hit the absolute limit, and awaken an even more destructive, godlike form. Every single evolution makes them exponentially deadlier and nearly impossible to kill. Hearing this dark truth leaves Maria utterly speechless. She cannot even fathom how humanity survived long enough to study this monstrous growth system. It seems like an impossible miracle that humans understand it. Beasts, so utterly alien to humanity. But Marielle shatters that illusion, revealing a deeper truth. She explains that throughout history, rare, chosen ones awaken to the divine voice. This heavenly system grants them absolute knowledge about monsters, revealing their hidden levels, skills, and very origins. These legendary individuals, blessed by the heavens, are hailed as saints and heroes. Through their system windows, humanity deciphered the terrifying mechanics of beasts. Marielle's gaze turns, deadly serious. She warns Myra that every creature is cursed with an endless hunger for power and blood. It is their core instinct. Therefore, even if a beast spared Maria once, their next destined encounter could be her last. That creature will have evolved into a catastrophic disaster. Driven by madness, it would slaughter her without a second thought. Marielle demands Maya erase any naive sympathy for these beasts. They are not friends, they are the sheer embodiment of absolute carnage, born only to conquer through endless bloodshed and slaughter. Because of this brutal fate, humans and beasts can never share the same sky. After her harsh reality check, Marielle departs, leaving Maria drowning in conflicting thoughts. Meanwhile, our protagonist grinds fiercely to level up. His only goal is achieving human transformation to finally reunite with Myra. He hunts for low-level prey to farm experience points and rushes evolution. But as he prowls through the forest, a sudden resistance halts his movements. Looking up, dread hits him. He is trapped in a giant web. Boom! A colossal spider beast drops right behind him with a heavy thud. He instantly checks the predator's status window, only to freeze in pure terror. Its stats are overwhelmingly high for his current level. A direct fight means certain death. The arachnid lunges for the kill, but he counters with a point-blank baby breath attack. The elemental strike lands a critical hit. Yet, when he glances back at the system display, the boss monster's health bar has barely taken a scratch. Refusing to yield, he unleashes the deadly plague dragon paralysis skill. He spams a relentless barrage of poison, desperate to debuff its speed. But even after emptying his mana, the beast's health is above 50%. Raw power is absolutely useless here. Facing this overwhelming gap in strength and his pitiful damage output, survival instincts kick in. Retreat is his only option. He turns and sprints for his life with everything he has. But in the blink of an eye, the monstrous spider closes the distance, boasting terrifying agility. He desperately activates his flight skill to take to the skies, but his low mastery level completely fails him. Grounded, he is forced into a frantic dance of rolling and dodging deadly strikes to stay alive. He evades by a hair's breadth until a steep cliff suddenly appears ahead. Knowing full well his wings are practically useless right now, he gambles everything, leaping off and deploying his wings mid-air. Against all odds, the desperate glide carries him safely across the chasm. Sticking the landing, he pumps his fist in triumph. A massive wave of relief washes over him, having successfully cheated death against the nightmare, without a scratch. But just as he turns to leave, he spots pure nightmare fuel. The spider spun a web bridge straight across the gap, crawling right toward him. He freezes, his blood running cold. This death match is far from over. He instantly rolls away, sprinting as fast as he humanly can. He dodges through the terrain, desperate to put distance between himself and the beast. Along his escape route, he clashes with several minor monsters, utterly destroying them without breaking a sweat. He keeps moving, slaughtering his way through to stack up massive experience points. After a brutal grinding session, the system's divine voice suddenly echoes, announcing a huge leap from level 3 to level 8. Smirking, he realizes he finally has the firepower to crush that spider if he plays his cards flawlessly. Just as he prepares to strike, the spider unleashes a massive cloud of deadly poison gas. The lethal attack forces him to leap into the high trees. Mid-air, it hits him. He actually possesses total poison resistance, meaning the toxic fog is completely useless. Realizing the beast has no clue about his immunity, a wicked plan forms. He can use this deadly trap to his advantage. He dramatically plummets from the branches, faking his own death by toxic asphyxiation. As the greedy spider creeps in for a feast, he seizes the moment. Launching mid-air, he blasts it with his baby breath, slamming it hard into the dirt for a flawless victory. The massive experience points from slaying such a high-tier beast rockets his level from 8 to 14. He feels absolute power surging through his veins. Yet, despite this epic boost, he still lacks the human transformation skill. Frustration sets in, making him wonder if a hidden condition is blocking his evolution. Trekking back through the wild, he discovers a perfectly hidden cave. Sensing absolutely zero life forms lurking inside, he claims it as his new secret base. Later that night, cooking dinner, he leans back to reflect on his fate. He seriously questions if he will ever peacefully coexist with humanity again. The harsh truth is, it's impossible, looking like a terrifying plague dragon. To make matters even more depressing, he is still completely locked out of his desired human transformation skill. Bitter regret washes over him for ever choosing this monstrous evolution path. Meanwhile, at a bustling local tavern, Maria gasps in pure shock. A crazy old-timer just swore he saw Daw alive. He claimed that while he was casually fishing near the deadly forest, he spotted Daw marching deep into the shadows until he vanished. Since the old man is a notorious town drunk, the crowd easily laughs it off as a wild booze-fueled hallucination. They think he is completely insane. But the elder furiously insists it was Daw. Panicking, Maria desperately rushes to Mariel with the rumors, begging for guild permission to launch a forest search. Mariel instantly denies the request, stating there is zero chance Daw survived out there. If he were alive, he would have safely made it back to the village. Seeing Maria's heartbroken expression, Mariel gently promises to send guild investigators to uncover the truth and see what can be salvaged. Maria nearly cries in gratitude, feeling a tiny spark of hope. Back in the cave, morning breaks. He wakes up with blazing determination to unlock his human form. But suddenly, he spots a strange slime on the nearby ground. Burning with curiosity, he immediately activates his stat check. The second he does, his vision violently glitches. A sudden, agonizing wave of pain pierces his skull. But pushing through the agony triggers a system alert his skill, just leveled up to 4. Thanks to this breakthrough, a flickering window of the slime's status finally appears. Scanning the numbers, his jaw drops in disbelief. He is utterly paralyzed, mind racing. How on earth could a pathetic, low-level slime possess such terrifyingly god-tier stats? This completely shatters everything he knew about basic beasts. Suddenly, the slime lunges forward. Relying on pure reflex, he narrowly dodges the strike just in the nick of time. Realizing he's outmatched, he smartly chooses to retreat. Dusting off, he pivots his search toward a brand new path. Just a few minutes later, his eyes lock onto an ordinary clay pot. Thinking it is perfect for storing his fruit, he reaches out. But when he grabs it, the pot violently snaps alive. It is actually a D-rank monster, the infamous Pottertoise, a bizarre hybrid of a sturdy vase and a giant reptile. He doesn't hesitate. He instantly charges up his signature dragon punch. Yet, after landing a flawless, bone-crushing direct hit, the beast barely flinches. Frustrated, he assumes he wasn't putting his back into it. Gathering every ounce of his aura to strike, the monster simply uses rest, instantly regenerating its health to absolute max. Boiling with pure fury now, he throws away technique and angrily wrestles the beast. He tries overwhelming force, but its shell is impossibly thick to crack open. Brute strength is clearly a dead end. But right then, a genius realization strikes him: this creature is a tortoise, not an aquatic turtle. And since land dwellers sink like heavy stones, he casually hurls the monster straight into the roaring river, dusting his hands off. Ding! The system gleefully announces he gained 36 sweet experience points from that cheesy victory, instantly rocketing to level 15. A handful of his passive abilities leveled up too. A triumphant smirk crosses his face, but right as he prepares to march deeper into the woods, his path is blocked by a massive swarm of furious Pottertoises. The awful truth dawns on him that first beast called for backup right before hitting the water, and judging by the blazing, murderous intent in their eyes, they are absolutely out for blood to avenge their fallen comrade. Without any warning, the creatures suddenly merge, stacking upon each other to form a towering, armored juggernaut. But our main character just smirks. This is child's play. Launching himself high into the sky, he hurls one like a meteor at the rest, crushing their entire formation. Wiping out the mob grants a massive jackpot 594 experience points. He skyrockets from level 15 to 30 in a single epic clash. Checking his stats, a huge wave of confidence washes over him. However, there is one annoying catch: every time he beats a beast, their shells shatter to useless dust, leaving him without a storage item. Shaking it off, he delves deeper into the shadows. He quickly calculates that he is merely 10 short levels away from triggering his next grand evolution. Yet, his long-awaited human transformation remains locked. A heavy sigh escapes him as he wonders when that day will come. He presses forward, but instantly freezes. A suffocating, terrifying aura floods the air, accompanied by earth-shattering footsteps. Diving into the brush, he peers out and spots a colossal, nightmarish bear prowling the shadows. But every single instinct screams that there is something deeply unnatural about this monster. He attempts to cast View Stats, but the system blocks him. The distance is simply too great. He can only analyze its basic profile. Squinting at the limited data, he realizes this beast shares his exact power rank. In theory, which means an all-out battle could actually end in victory. But pushing that aside, he recalls it is a clay bear, a literal beast molded entirely from earth. If our MC can take this monster down, he can finally craft a pot, unlocking ultimate storage. The beast remains completely oblivious. So, he prepares a deadly ambush. Dropping from the canopy above, he unleashes a blazing fire punch. But the beast snaps around instantly, revealing hidden chest claws that nearly snap him in two. Barely surviving, he pivots to a rapid hit-and-run tactic, using sheer agility to strike relentlessly until its HP drops by half. Sensing victory, our hero thinks the battle is won. But suddenly, the monster triggers its regeneration skill, instantly restoring its HP to full. Staring at the healed beast, he realizes there is only one path to survival: endless hit-and-run strikes to completely drain its MP. The grueling war of attrition begins, and the strategy pays off until he goes in for the killing blow. The bear roars, summoning a blinding sandstorm from nowhere. Instantly, lethal spikes erupt from its massive back, completely blocking his close combat hit-and-run tactics. Worse still, the monster violently rips these earthen spikes from its flesh, hurling them like heavy artillery in a deadly barrage. Narrowly dodging death, our hero spots something. Chunks of raw clay splinter off the spikes upon impact. And right there, a genius counterattack forms in his mind. As the hulking beast launches another devastating projectile, he refuses to merely dodge. Snatching the soft clay, he swiftly compresses it into a rock-solid sphere, fusing it with his explosive meteorite strike. He slams the attack directly into the bear, obliterating it once and for all. Against all odds, Clay Bear is vanquished. The system voice chimes in, awarding 300 EXP. He massively levels up from level 30 straight to 33. Plus, he scored the ultimate clay loot. Heading straight back to his base, he meticulously crafts a survival pot using his hard-earned monster drops. While the vessel slowly bakes into shape over the fire, our MC ventures back into the treacherous wild to forage for food. After an intense scouting session, he stumbles upon bizarre, undiscovered vegetation that completely blows his mind. These alien plants trigger both his gamer curiosity and deep caution. Meanwhile, Maria boldly pushes deeper into the old, deadly forest, completely ignoring Marielle's strict warnings. Her eyes burn with sheer determination. If there is even a single trace that Da is still alive out there, she absolutely refuses to sit back while he suffers in darkness. Though she doubts the validity of the old man's rumors about seeing Da, the burning hope in her chest forces her forward. She must uncover the truth herself, but as she advances, a terrifying, dark worm bursts from the shadows. Without missing a single beat, she pushes the monster back with a devastating, explosive fire strike. Keeping her heart steady and focus sharp, she knows she can survive this hellish dungeon. So, while our MC gets totally immersed in analyzing fascinating new magical flora and leveling up his survival skills, Maria bravely battles her way deeper into the untamed, monstrous forest, hunting for Da. Each step deeper into the dark woods amplifies her dread. Her heart pounds like war drums. Reaching a suffocating breaking point, she makes a frantic choice. A quick glance at the village outskirts before sprinting straight back home. She swears to herself not to cross that line. Meanwhile, under the moonlight, he returns home. A proud smile appears, his handcrafted bowl is ready. He pairs it with the fresh meat and herbs from today's hunt, taking that anticipated bite. Absolute heaven, he declares it the greatest masterpiece he has ever tasted in his entire life. But reality hits, his rustic wooden bowl is awkward to drink from and leaking broth. Unfazed, he vows to craft a flawless, upgraded version at dawn. Fast forward to morning light, an elegant carriage cuts through the misty valley. Inside rests royalty Princess Melchia, gently awakened by her two elite adventurer escorts. Their sharp eyes scan the looming tree line ahead. They exchange a serious nod. This is the exact cursed forest the guild ordered them to investigate. Meanwhile, our MC returns from a brutal wolf hunt. He skillfully skins his prey, laying the bloody pelts out to dry in the forest breeze. But a pesky troop of rogue monkeys keeps stealing chunks of his hard-earned loot the second he turns his back. His patience shatters. Boiling with absolute rage, a villainous smirk creeps across his face. The master plan? Lace the next batch of meat with deadly toxins. The next time those thieves strike, they meet the Grim Reaper. Driven by revenge, he ventures deep into the wilds for toxic flora. He steps into a vibrant, deceptively beautiful field of lethal blossoms. But fate throws a curveball. He locks eyes with an unknown beast. His appraisal skill flares up, revealing a terrifying truth. A Venom Princess Lerda. His gamer instincts tingle. Her entire stat sheet is maxed out in poison mastery. Suddenly, the toxic lizard darts away, vanishing from sight. He chuckles, assuming his fearsome aura terrified it. But then an ambush from the shadows. The monster lunges, sinking its fangs into his neck before vanishing into the brush. Utterly bewildered, he touches the shallow wound. Why a hit and run? Why such a pathetic scratch? Then, the nightmare begins. A catastrophic surge of lethal venom erupts through his veins. This is no ordinary toxin, it is absolute agonizing hell. His knees slam into the dirt. Paralysis grips his shoulders. The terrifying reality sets in as his face eats the soil. He was played. The Venom Princess never fled, she waited for her venom to strike. This toxic payload defies all logic. It is shredding his vitality at a terrifyingly unnatural speed. His limbs turn to lead, his lungs scream for air, and a dark fog swallows his mind. Through the fading consciousness, one grim truth echoes. If he yields to this paralysis, his story ends right here. Death's shadow looms, but that sheer terror ignites his survival instinct. He forces his sluggish brain to reboot. How does he cheat death this time? His eyes snap open with desperate resolve. There is only one gamble left to take. He must unravel the secrets of that demonic black lizard. If he decodes its dark biology, he might just synthesize a miracle cure in time to cure the deadly venom. Desperate, he immediately triggers his appraisal skill. The system's divine voice echoes in his mind, revealing a terrifying truth. The beast is a D-rank monster, notorious for its deeply sadistic hunting methods. It infects its prey with lethal venom and retreats, letting the toxin do the work. Once the target is fully paralyzed or dead, the monster returns to devour its helpless meal. But the system doesn't stop there, dropping a crucial piece of lore. The terrifying creature, known as the Venom Princess, brews her lethal poison deep within her core by constantly devouring toxic substances over time. But every monster has a fatal flaw. The divine voice drops a bombshell. The Venom Princess's own bodily fluids are the absolute only cure for her deadly poison. This massive revelation flips the script entirely. In a flash, he realizes his grim reality. To survive this nightmare, he must capture the Venom Princess alive and extract her fluids as an antidote. He literally has no other choice. Thankfully, his poison-resistant skill keeps him from instantly dying. Though his body feels like lead, he forces his trembling muscles to move with what little strength remains. Activating his roll skill, he violently launches through the forest. Just as predicted, the Venom Princess is absolutely relentless. She triggers her own roll skill to keep pace. Out of absolutely nowhere, a brutal clay spike slams into him. He realizes with horror that the Venom Princess copied that exact skill. He frantically keeps rolling, pushing his limits, even as his vision fades to black. Suddenly, a brilliant idea strikes him. He recalls the massive cliff he leaped off earlier while escaping that giant spider. This sparks a wild gamble. He decides to pull off the exact same crazy stunt, but this time, the Venom Princess is the target. Channeling every last drop of his fading aura, he rolls at breakneck speed. At the final split second, he pivots and violently shoves the Venom Princess off the edge. As she plummets, pure relief washes over him, but it instantly shatters into sheer panic. A horrifying realization. He literally needs her bodily fluids to survive. If she dies from this massive drop, his fate is completely sealed. Without a second thought, he dives off the cliff right after her. Mid-air, the deadly toxin aggressively spikes, tearing through his veins with terrifying force. His aura fades, and his numb limbs threaten to completely shut down. Yet, his sheer willpower refuses to yield, igniting the absolute last of his mana. He triggers his baby breath skill. The explosive shockwave blasts both of them upward with perfect momentum. They miraculously crash back onto solid ground. The instant they impact, his limits break. The terrifying poison has fully ravaged his system, and he completely blacks out. He helplessly collapses too, the dirt with the Venom Princess sprawled right across his chest. Meanwhile, far from the dark forest, Myra slowly returns to her village. She has spent another exhausting day hunting for Da, screaming his name across every single possible location. But once again, absolute silence. Suddenly, Maria's ears catch Marielle's sharp voice echoing in the distance. Panic sets in. She desperately needs to hide that she was secretly roaming the dangerous woods again. If Marielle finds the truth, a brutal scolding is totally guaranteed. Moving like lightning, Maria dashes out of the tree line to intercept the voice. Reaching Marielle, she forces a perfectly innocent smile, acting entirely normal. Marielle immediately looks relieved by the. Marielle gasps the moment she spots Maria. She frantically explains her endless worry, having searched absolutely everywhere for her. She even rushed over to Maria's house, finding it completely empty. With her anxiety peaking, she demands to know where Maria was this whole time. But Maria desperately hides the truth, keeping her dangerous solo search for Da in the Forbidden Forest a strict secret. She lies smoothly, claiming a mild cold forced her out for a simple walk, to catch some fresh air and clear her heavy head. Marielle listens closely, yet the tension refuses to fade. Something about Maria's excuse just screams suspicion. Her gut instinct screams that Maria is secretly scouring those deadly woods again. Unable to shake her doubts, Marielle glares and asks her point-blank if she was hunting for Da in that treacherous forest. Maria firmly denies it, without a single flinch. She repeats her fake story about needing fresh air, masking her inner turmoil. Faced with Maria's deadpan expression, Marielle lacks any solid proof. Left with zero options, she forcefully swallows her doubts, choosing trust. Shifting gears, Marielle drops some major news. Elite adventurers have already been dispatched, marching straight toward the forest to hunt for Da. She assures Maria that seasoned pros have taken control, meaning her reckless worrying must stop right now. She begs Maria to leave it to the guild and prioritize her own safety. Maria nods quietly, though absolute dread still grips her soul. Meanwhile, deep within the wild woods, Da's eyes flutter open. Blinking away the blur, the terrifying Venom Princess looms before him. Instant panic strikes his core. He braces for death, assuming she waited to devour his poison-riddled corpse. But as he shifts his body, a shocking revelation hits him. His limbs feel incredibly light, and that agonizing venomous burn has vanished. The truth strikes him like lightning. The Venom Princess did not stay to feed. She graciously delivered the antidote. Using her own mystical essence, she miraculously saved his life. This stunning fact reveals a deeper truth. Since his reckless cliff dive to protect her, the monstrous royal actually grew attached. No longer viewing him as mere prey, she recognizes him as an equal. In that silent heartbeat, an unbreakable bond is forged. This sparks the dawn of a bizarre yet beautiful companionship. Later, Da boldly invites her to his hideout. Upon arriving, he cooks up a humble feast for the two of them. Sharing a quiet meal, an alien sensation washes over him. True, absolute warmth. For the first time in what feels like an eternity, he is dining with a companion. The crushing isolation he endured for so long melts completely away. As their days intertwine, a sudden idea strikes his mind. Neither possesses a name. He ponders deeply, trying to invent the perfect title for the princess. Ideas clash and fade until he firmly stops. Titles hold zero meaning here. The only thing that truly matters is their perfect synergy, conquering loneliness. From then on, Da and the Venom Princess grow undeniably close. Time morphs them into legendary partners, flawlessly hunting down prey as one entity. They master synchronized movements, knowing exactly when to strike and retreat. As time flows, her deadly presence becomes his ultimate comfort. Having a monster by his side feels right. Now, it feels natural, a perfect new reality. Yet, there remains only one hurdle he cannot overcome. The Venom Princess simply does not stomach ordinary food. She rejects every normal meal he offers. Instead, she craves deadly flora hidden deep within the woods. That toxic mushroom reeks horribly. Desperate to stop her, he unleashes his baby breath to scorch it before she takes a bite. Instantly, the Venom Princess grows. Fiercely outraged, he instantly realizes his grave error. To her, this toxic flora is not mere food. It is her core source of power. Destroying it feels like a direct assault on her very pride. So, to make amends, he swears to hunt more down later. But before he can plan his next move, disaster strikes. Out of nowhere, a terrifying presence descends. A rare mutant known as the Twin Head emerges and blocks their path. The beast bears two heads, each flashing a wicked, distinct glare. Its bloodthirsty gaze makes one thing clear. It craves a brutal slaughter. He freezes in pure shock. This is an entirely unknown anomaly. He instantly feels its suffocating aura and senses lethal danger. As he analyzes the threat, he realizes it wields broken special skills like gravity manipulation. His confidence wavers. Can he actually defeat this absolute monstrosity? Dread creeps in, but he refuses to let fear control his mind. Even with certain death looming ahead, neither he nor the Venom Princess will surrender. They exchange a fierce glance, silently vowing to fight as one. The strategy is simple. He will draw the twin head into direct combat. Meanwhile, the Venom Princess takes the high ground and waits to deliver a lethal toxic strike. He explodes forward and strikes first to test the beast's raw power. The twin head reacts instantly, launching a devastating blow. The fierce counterattack blasts him backward, forcing a tactical retreat to regain his footing. Before he can recover, the blue head snaps open its jaws and begins chanting a spell. A brilliant magic circle erupts beneath him, and instantly, spatial gravity multiplies. His body violently crashes into the FRD-6 Earth as the pressure becomes absolutely crushing. Feeling 100 times his normal weight, he fights to move, his muscles screaming under the extreme burden. Just as death seems certain, the Venom Princess makes her move from the shadows. She snipes a deadly, venom-coated clay dart at the twin head. The critical hit shatters the spell, lifting the crushing gravity. Immediately, the split second he regains his mobility, he blasts into the prash sky with all his remaining might. He fires his baby breath point blank at the twin head, landing a brutal direct hit. He expects the blast to end the fight, but to his horror, the twin head instantly regenerates right before his eyes. Though startled, he suppresses his panic. Instead, a wave of clarity washes over him. In that brief clash, he uncovered a vital flaw. He now realizes the blue head controls the magical arts, while the red head relies on raw physical power. Armed with this data, their next move will be a lethal, calculated strike. He charges straight at the twin head. Without hesitation, the red head lunges and sinks its fangs in. Agony shoots flesh. He suppresses the scream. This was exactly his master plan. While the red head is busy sinking its fangs in, he twists and unleashes a lightning-fast, devastating uppercut right into the blue head. The crushing blow lands perfectly, throwing the blue head off balance. That split-second opening is all the Venom Princess needs. She leaps from the shadows, sinking her fangs into the blue head to deliver a fatal poison bite. The twin-headed beast roars in agony, instantly triggering its regeneration skill. At first glance, the vicious wounds seem to heal, but then a strange phenomenon occurs. Even as the flesh knits together, the monster's HP plummets rapidly. Her lethal poison completely overpowers its healing factor. Witnessing this, a smirk crosses his face. He is absolutely certain this battle is already won. But suddenly, the twin head does the unthinkable, because the lethal venom has only infected the blue head's half of the body. To stop it from spreading further, the red head clamps its jaws down and viciously tears the blue head completely off. He freezes in pure shock, unable to comprehend the brutal scene he just witnessed. A brief wave of relief washes over him, because with the blue head destroyed, the beast loses its magic. However, that relief is short-lived. It turns out sacrificing a head is actually the twin head's hidden special ability. The severed blue head, despite being brutally ripped off, is still alive. It hits the dirt and instantly starts crawling on its own. Wasting zero time, it pivots and aggressively charges after the Venom Princess. He tries to dash after her, but the massive red head blocks his path. He is trapped in a death match. With magic out of the equation, the fight becomes a brutal clash of pure strength and martial technique. The red head attacks with absolute fury, swinging and biting with everything it has. He deflects with calm, precision, and razor-sharp counters, refusing to yield an inch. The clash is brief. Relying on his vast combat experience, he spots a fatal flaw and unleashes his signature nutcracker technique. The devastating strike lands perfectly, extinguishing the red head's life instantly. As eerie silence falls, his heart pounds like a war drum. He remembers the other head. Pure panic grips his soul as he realizes the Venom Princess is in mortal peril. She is his one and only true companion in this chaotic world. In that split second, he abandons all desires of regaining his human form or unlocking new powers. He desperately prays to the heavens for her survival. He frantically searches through the wreckage. After an agonizing eternity, he spots a slight rustle. The Venom Princess crawls out from the brush, critically wounded but alive. Massive relief washes over him. But before he can hold her, the blue head ambushes from behind, lunging in for the absolute kill. His instincts take over. Using his bare hands, he snatches the terrifying blue head and crushes it with monstrous strength, ending the nightmare once and for all. With the battle won, he rushes to the Venom Princess and pulls her into a warm embrace. Holding her tight, he vows that he no longer cares about his humanity. He declares he is perfectly fine staying a monster as long as they are together. Suddenly, the system's voice echoes in his mind, announcing a massive stat boost, but it drops one final, earth-shattering alert. Human transformation has been unlocked. His eyes widen in absolute disbelief at the timing. Meanwhile, at the village, Maria and Marielle are eagerly prepping for the incoming adventurers. Maria excitedly wonders what visitors were rare here. But suddenly, a sharp knock echoed. The wooden door creaked open, revealing two seasoned adventurers. Melia and Yuno stood tall. They quickly revealed their mission to Marielle: track down someone swallowed by the shadows. Marielle bowed deeply in pure relief. With a trembling voice, she spilled the dark truth. The missing man was a brave comrade of Myra. Fear gripped Marielle's heart. She knew Maria was blindly charging into the deadly woods for him. Such recklessness meant death. Only hard proof of Da's fate could shatter Maria's delusion and save her life. Thus, she begged the duo to brave the cursed forest and find out if Da was truly a goner. A grim but vital quest. Yuno and Melia nodded. Gear ready, they plunged into the dark abyss for the corpse. But miles away, our main character faced a different kind of storm. The ultimate skill, human transformation, was finally his. His heart pounded like crazy. After endless days, trapped as a beast, his humanity called. He sprinted to a hidden wasteland, the absolute perfect stage, to unleash this magic. Standing tall, reality hit hard. Was he really shedding these scales? The irony stung bitterly. He had just made peace with his monstrous fate, yet the raw craving to be human roared back to life. But wait, this power changed everything. If he became a man, would his bond with the Venom Princess shatter? They were closer than ever. Changing his very species could wreck it all. Still, his greedy heart wanted both. To hold her hand and walk among mankind without terror. To speak without roaring. His tactical mind sparked. With a 3-day cooldown on this skill, a double life was totally possible. A human villager by day and an apex predator when duty called. The perfect cheat code for his existence. But suddenly, a wild thought struck him like lightning. What if he morphed into a female? A cold sweat broke out. How precise. Was this system magic? Would he regain his old face or spawn as a complete stranger? He shook his head. Overthinking was useless. Only actions speak in this world. Fear won't grant miracles. Taking a deep breath, he cast human transformation. Mana surged wildly. He pictured his glorious, handsome past self. But fate is cruel. Instead of human flesh, his bones cracked into a grotesque nightmare. He spawned as an even uglier, cursed plague beast. Absolute despair hit. He completely crashed out in rage, demanded answers from the divine voice. He furiously asked what went wrong and why his human form failed so miserably. But as usual, the divine voice was utterly useless. It coldly stated he lacked the required level before it could explain further. His rage only peaked when he opened his status window. His attack and defense stats had plummeted to a pathetic 50%. Worse yet, his mana points were rapidly bleeding out just by maintaining this broken form. It was wildly unstable. Staying in this pathetic state meant begging for death. Realizing this, he completely abandoned the human transformation experiment. There was absolutely zero logic in keeping a body that nerfed his stats. In a flash, he reverted back to his true dragon form. Meanwhile, Melia and Yuno relentlessly continued tracking down Da. During their search, a terrifying spider beast ambushed them in the woods. But the skilled duo launched a flawless combo, crushing the monster with absolute ease. Yet, despite their perfect teamwork, Da was still nowhere in sight. As night swallowed the sky, heavy fatigue hit. The gloomy forest morphed into a lethal death trap. They seriously debated calling off the hunt and retreating to the village. But just as they turned their backs, a shocking sight stopped them cold. Hidden in the shadows was a mysterious cave, guarded by 2 miniature dragon statues. Yuno casually brushed them off as mere props, left by crazy dragon cultists. It made logical sense, but Melia's sharp instincts screamed otherwise. She knew there were 0 dragon sects roaming this specific territory. Worse, she felt a sinister magical aura pulsing from the stone figures. These were no ordinary sculptures. They were vessels overflowing with dark magic. This dense mana instantly triggered their survival instincts. Someone had set a trap. With weapons drawn, they crept into the shadowy abyss. but the sight inside totally shattered their expectations. This was no filthy monster lair. It was spotlessly clean and farly, strangely cozy. The rock walls were perfectly reinforced and lit up by glowing magic stones. Clearly, someone lived here. Scanning the eerie room, they quickly deduced they had stumbled upon a secret underground base for deadly rogue smugglers. But before they could even breathe, a chilling shadow emerged. It was the terrifying Venom Princess. She crept up like a phantom. Surprisingly, she held her ground, letting out a lethal hiss instead of striking. After a breathless standoff, the deadly beast vanished into the deepest shadows. Cold sweat drenched Melia as she recognized the monster species. This apex predator was pure nightmare fuel. A single toxic bite meant an agonizing end. Panicking, she ordered an immediate tactical retreat. This sinister cave was way out of their league. Meanwhile, outside the lair, the main characters sensed the girls. Watching Melia and Yuno step inside, an intense thrill raced through his core. This was a rare chance for a second human encounter since his wild reincarnation. Forgetting the disaster of his previous human form, a burning curiosity took over. Maybe this fateful meeting would rewrite his destiny, and they could finally be allies. Driven by pure hope, he triggered his morphing skill once more, stepping toward the cave entrance to say hello. But the moment Melia and Yuno laid eyes on his form, chaos erupted. What stood before them wasn't an ally. It was an absolute monster. His terrifying aura made his deadly hostility clear. Without a second thought, they struck. Ambushed. He barely dodged in time. Their deadly strikes were blindingly fast and brutally precise. Striking fast, they instantly retreated, fleeing the cave as fast as their legs could carry them. Once safely away, Yuno finally caught her breath and turned to Melcha. What was their next move? Should they really head back and report this nightmare to the village? Melia firmly shook her head. They had zero proof about Da, and absolutely no logical explanation for the horror inside that cave. Reporting it now would just cause chaos. Yuno knew exactly what that meant. Mela wanted to call in the rest of their strike team. If a high-ranked beast lurked there, it wasn't a threat just the two of them could survive. They needed backup. She ordered Yuno to evacuate the forest immediately and regroup with the guild before making their next move. The following day, our hero awoke in his den, feeling completely reborn. A full night's sleep meant his stamina had fully recovered. The bitter sting of his failed human evolution had finally faded away. For now, it was time to focus on survival. He strolled over to his food stash, eyeing the precious stacks of dried meat he'd crafted. This jerky was his ultimate survival ration, but those pesky monkeys kept sneaking into his territory to steal it. Even though he had beaten them back before, the thieves always returned, glaring at the stolen meat. A wicked idea sparked. He approached the Venom Princess and politely asked for her deadly skills. He needed a custom poison that was completely odorless and tasteless. The trap was simple. He'd coat the meat in toxic venom. Once those greedy monkeys took a bite, it was game over. Problem permanently solved. The Venom Princess happily agreed without a second thought. She synthesized the lethal toxin, making sure it lacked any scent or flavor. With the trap set, he slathered the deadly glaze across the jerky and left it as perfect bait. Then, the waiting game began. The forest was dead silent. The furry thieves didn't show right away. Lurking in the shadows, he waited. Finally, the rustling of shaking branches announced their arrival. Right on cue, a pack of monkeys crept up to his cave. Almost instantly, the lethal venom took effect. The monkeys began staggering. Several just collapsed to the dirt. The trap worked. Now it was his turn to strike. Dashing forward, he triggered his attack skill, slashing the surviving monkeys before they could flee. But a sudden chill proved he had deeply underestimated his prey. Even poisoned, their monstrous vitality was insane. A squad of beasts tried to swarm and crush him, but mere numbers were absolutely no match for his teamwork with the Venom Princess. She launched her attack with precision, firing clay spikes to cripple them. He followed up with devastating blows, pushing them back. But just as victory seemed certain, one desperate monkey unleashed an ear-piercing shriek. The sonic boom shook the entire forest. The earth violently trembled. Massive footsteps rapidly echoed. From the shadows, an absolute behemoth of a gorilla emerged. Its sheer size was nightmare fuel. Towering over him, it radiated killing intent. This was the group's absolute ruler. A sudden chill of unease washed over him. This beast was more massive than any foe he had ever encountered. Yet, instead of panicking, he pulled up his system window. He analyzed the boss's stats with laser focus. Comparing them to his own, a shocking truth emerged. Their raw stats were a dead match. Looking closer at the monster's profile, a chilling detail caught his eye. The beast wielded an aura skill that severely buffed its minions. The second that buff triggered, the primate army mutated. Their muscles bulged with explosive power, and their speed skyrocketed. What was once manageable mobs became an overwhelming nightmare. He and the Venom Princess were instantly forced on the defensive. The buff monsters launched coordinated waves, each strike packing devastating kinetic force. The tides turned completely against them in a flash. He desperately pinged the system for answers. The system notification chimed. This boss wasn't actually a gorilla. It was a highly evolved orangutan, an elite D+ rank threat. That explained its terrifying combat intellect. For a split second, he thought it was game over. Facing an enhanced army and a monster king, their survival odds hit absolute zero. But then, a vital clue flashed in his memory. The boss possessed a unique telepathy skill. A crazy plan sparked in his mind. Snatching one of the bay minions, he pinned it down as a meat shield. Channeling his focus, he initiated a telepathic link with the Alpha. He declared that they wanted no pointless bloodshed. He and the Venom Princess were merely guarding their turf, not looking for a war. He proposed a mutual retreat to end this deathmatch. The Alpha's heavy voice boomed within his head. A retreat was out of the question. They had proven themselves way too lethal. If left alive, they would become a catastrophic threat to its entire clan. Extermination was the only option, no matter the bloody cost. Hearing that absolute killing intent, he realized words were useless. Only blood remained. So, he challenged it to a duel. The boss was a creature of fierce tribal pride. One-on-one combat was an absolutely sacred law. After a heavy silence, the Alpha accepted his bold challenge. The roaring mob instantly backed away. Under tribal law, no minion dared to interrupt a sacred deathmatch. Our hero breathed a sigh of relief. He had successfully flipped a hopeless raid into a fair solo showdown. The lethal duel commenced. To a rookie, it seemed like he was desperately falling back. It honestly looked like he was fleeing. But in reality, he was baiting the Alpha to overextend. Every time the beast lunged, he flawlessly sidestepped, landing incredibly precise. Critical counters. Those precision strikes carved out way more damage than expected. Inch by inch, the momentum shifted. He was completely dominating. The Alpha's movements grew sluggish from heavy damage. But the deathmatch wasn't over yet. Suddenly, the boss made a terrifying gamble. It dumped every last stat point straight into agility. In a split second, its speed exploded beyond limits. It became a terrifying, untrackable blur. The battle's tide turned again. He was now completely overwhelmed. Unable to keep up, he mirrored his foe's desperate move, dumping all his remaining stat points straight into agility. With both warriors now focused purely on speed, the duel devolved into a savage exchange of power. Brutal blows. They traded heavy fists, each devastating strike landing with explosive force. The thunderous impacts echoed, while their bodies showed severe damage. Following relentless clashes, it became obvious either fighter could instantly collapse. Our hero clearly realized his absolute limit was near. Prolonging this fight meant defeat, so he gambled on one final strike. As the ape threw a massive punch, he unleashed his trump card. The dragon counter punch meant to reflect enemy power while dealing a fatal, decisive blow. With flawless timing, he smashed his fist right into the ape's face. A devastating impact. The giant beast staggered and started falling. For one split second, victory felt real. Yet right before dropping, the boss burned its last embers of life, throwing a final, heavy smash. The brutal hit landed squarely, sending our hero crashing down. But since his lethal blow struck first, the system declared him the victor. As darkness took his vision, he saw the Venom Princess fiercely guarding him. Then, a divine voice rang out. He had earned 162 experience points and hit level 39. Hours later, he groggily awakens, completely disoriented. To his total shock, he discovers he was safely back, inside the familiar cave. Taking a breath to clear his hazy mind, he sifts through his memories, remembering his epic victory over the massive ape boss. The realization of his triumph sends pure adrenaline through him. Seeing the Venom Princess's smug smile, he quickly figures out that she carried his battered body home. They share a brief, triumphant celebration, deeply relieved that they survived the deadly ordeal. But turning his head, his heart skips a beat. Standing there are the exact same monkey minions who served the fallen ape leader. His instinct screams they want bloody revenge. Yet, instead of attacking, The primate squad erupts into enthusiastic cheers. Their wild behavior clearly shows they now worship him as their new alpha. Intrigued, he pulls up his system window, finding a brand new title, Clan Boss. He quickly deduces that slaying their former master meant he automatically seized the throne. The Venom Princess instantly bares her fangs, glaring at the monkeys, but he hurriedly talks her down, explaining this twist of fate is a massive advantage. He plots to use the tribe as loyal grunts for farming materials and daily chores, freeing their hands entirely. However, as he casually chats up his new furry army, the Venom Princess bubbles with fierce jealousy. Yet the dense protagonist stays totally blind to her deadly pouting. With his minion squad handling all the heavy lifting, he suddenly faces absolute boredom. Refusing to waste time, his gamer mind starts calculating productive grinds to conquer next. He realizes the growing cave population. Surviving means stockpiling massive food supplies. To do this right, they need solid clay pots. By dawn, he dives straight into the crafting process. A monkey watches with burning curiosity. Amused, our hero tells him to watch closely, molding the raw clay into shape. He quickly realizes these monkeys are naturally gifted for this, thanks to their incredibly nimble fingers. Finishing the lesson, he tells the monkey Ken to try making one himself, leaving him to master the ceramics. Stepping outside, he freezes. The Venom Princess is actually trying to craft a clay pot alone. He casually teases that she won't be able to achieve much with those tiny limbs. Misunderstanding his words, she turns bright red and flees. Watching her run, he stands completely baffled, wondering what he even said wrong. Yet, he realizes the Venom Princess has been acting incredibly strange lately. He just cannot figure out why. Meanwhile, Milia and Yuno sit at a quiet tavern, drinking while waiting for their squad to arrive. As the hours tick by with zero sign of them, dread sets in. Melia stays calm, reassuring Yuno that the others will return after finishing their quest. Yuno, however, is paralyzed by the trauma of their clash with the plague dragon. That monster's aura still haunts her, waking nightmares. Melia tells her to breathe, swearing they will crush this threat soon and handle everything perfectly. Back at the cave, morning light hits his eyes, greeted by the Venom Princess. He tries standing up, but a heavy weight pins his chest. Taking a closer look, he bursts into laughter. The monkeys are sprawled across him. Fast asleep, he shakes them, but they refuse to budge. Defeated, he simply gives up and drifts back to sleep. Minutes later, a sudden noise jolts him. Fully awake, a monkey twitches on the dirt floor, gasping and begging for its life. Without hesitation, he activates appraisal to uncover the terrifying truth. The Venom Princess poisoned the poor monkey. Pure rage flares in his eyes. He commands her to hand over the antidote now. She stubbornly looks away, refusing to yield. His voice drops an octave, demanding it with absolute authority. Finally cracking, she surrenders the precious cure. He feeds it to the monkey, and its breathing finally stabilizes. With the crisis averted, he confronts the Venom Princess, asking her gently why she did something so cruel. Trembling, she confesses her crippling jealousy ever since the monkeys arrived. In her eyes, he totally replaced her and cast her aside. Hearing her painful truth, he realizes his massive mistake. He deeply apologizes for being so blind, leaving her feeling abandoned. To heal the rift, he promises to make it up with an exclusive hunting trip. Tomorrow, it will be just the two of them, sharing precious moments alone. The Venom Princess's face lights up, instantly, eagerly accepting. Elsewhere, Maria realizes a terrifying fact. Days have dragged on since the adventurers vanished into the woods. Zero news has reached them. Panicking over their dark fate, she knows waiting is no longer an option. Armed and ready to find she charges into action, herself marching into the wild to track them down. By daybreak, our guy and the Venom Princess embark on a thrilling forest date. He totally seems pumped, soaking in the wild air and craving the thrill of the hunt. But the Venom Princess, she looks absolutely fuming. The tragic reason becomes crystal clear. He brought the whole monkey squad. While he sees zero problems, she created a romantic solo quest. The monkey troop, however, is bouncing off the walls, totally loving their wild field trip. Crushed, the Venom Princess marches ahead in total silence. Suddenly, her killer instincts flare. Two massive forest wolves leap from the shadows, bearing their fangs. He smirks, expecting a totally basic duo battle. But before our heroes can even draw their weapons, the monkeys blitz forward. They totally obliterate the wolves with flawless, tactical strikes. The clash ends in seconds, leaving our duo just standing, completely dumbfounded. As the monkeys cheer loudly, the poor Venom Princess feels totally left out. Meanwhile, Myra wanders way deeper, into the dark woods than planned. Pushing through the thick, eerie canopy, a chilling realization hits her. She has crossed into forbidden territory. Shadows warp, and a heavy dread grips her heart. She panics, desperately wanting to retreat. But just as she decides to run, she spots Da wandering up ahead. Flooded with absolute relief, she screams his name, sprinting to catch up. But before she can reach safety, a nightmarish monstrosity suddenly blocks her path. Its horrifying aura totally paralyzes her with pure dread. At that exact moment, our guy strolls homeward with the Venom Princess, frantically apologizing for ignoring her. He tries to explain that, as their literal guild master now, he carries heavy burdens and simply cannot abandon them. Yet, he totally feels her pain. To win back her heart, he swears their next hunt will be a true solo date. 0 monkeys allowed. Hearing this absolute vow, the Venom Princess goes wild with joy. She tackles him, showering him with licks, completely obsessed with having him to herself. But as romance blooms, a blood-curdling shriek shatters the peace. That voice rings way too familiar. It is Myra. His instincts scream that she faces mortal peril. Moving like lightning, he tears himself from the Venom Princess and blasts off like a meteor toward the scream. He orders her to hold the line. But fiercely loyal, she stubbornly tries to roll right behind him. Tragically, her rolling stats are garbage. She wildly spins out, crashing into solid stone. Her hit points violently drop by half. He breaks hard to assess the damage, ensuring she survived. Though his heart aches, he knows time is running out. He swears his heart remains hers, but he absolutely must rescue Myra. With fire in his soul, he rockets away at maximum speed. Meanwhile, Myra faces certain death, inches away from being torn apart by 3 savage wolves. But boom, he descends like a divine hero, violently crushing a beast into the dirt. He instantly plants himself right in front of Myra, an unbreakable shield against the horde. The system then, he learns these vile beasts are Manhwa wolves. They rely on their third eye to share their vision with the rest of the ravenous pack, lurking nearby. Using this wicked skill, they sync perfectly with each other, hunting down their prey with deadly precision. Now, these rabid wolves, close in, hungry for a bloody feast. At a quick glance, they just look like basic monsters. But wait, checking their stats more closely, he senses a chilling anomaly. A bizarre aura coats their bodies, hinting they far surpass the power of normal wolves at that rank. Right then, the pack launches a synchronized strike, but he instantly reacts, firing his baby breath and roasting one to ashes. The remaining 2 try to ambush him from the flanks, yet he moves like lightning, driving his fists into their skulls. Boom! The battle ends instantly. He then tries to approach Maria calmly. Predictably, she shrinks back, terrified by his monstrous form. She retreats to a tree, fearing the worst. However, after seeing he halts his attack, a memory flashes. A similar mighty dragon once saved her and her guildmates. Suddenly, the dots connect. She realizes he is the exact same dragon from before. Gathering her shaky courage, she stands to talk with him. Once she finally sees that he harbors 0 malice and only wants to protect her, a spark of trust blooms. In that breathtaking moment, they silently acknowledge each other as true allies. But more Manhwa wolves close in, circling them like prey. He steps boldly in front of Myra, urging her to get behind his back. With absolute trust now, she swiftly leaps onto his broad back. Fully secured, he gears up to violently shatter the enemy ring and dash to safety just as the wolves pounce. Meanwhile, Marielle notices Maria has been missing for way too long. At first, she thinks the girl is close, but after scanning the usual spots, dread creeps in. She finds Gregory and immediately starts tearing through the area. They scour the village edges and fields, but after an agonizing search with absolutely 0 clues, Marielle's face darkens with panic. She guesses that Maria sneaked back into the deadly forest to find Da. Even though she knows it is a suicidal and reckless choice, Marielle simply cannot just walk away. She loves Maria too deeply to leave her stranded in that cursed place. She strictly tells Gregory she is charging into the forest to save her. Gregory offers backup, but Marielle fiercely shakes her head. She orders him to hold the fort in case Maria miraculously returns to the safe village. At that exact moment, the remaining adventure squads finally arrive. They crowd around to hear Yuno report the grim events earlier. As Yuno describes the nightmare cave, the suffocating aura they see, faced, and the terrifying plague dragon, the air turns ice cold. Some adventurers visibly tremble. Whispers erupt, doubting if they are truly ready for a boss-level threat. Sensing their fear, Melia steps up. She boldly declares that cheating death is the path they chose. They became adventurers knowing epic beasts awaited them, deadly crises. Her confident words anchor the group, stopping their morale from crumbling. Meanwhile, our MC blasts through the dense forest, rushing at top speed with Myra clinging to his back. His mind races to find an escape from this nightmare. Spotting a narrow valley ahead, he formulates a tactical plan. This bottleneck terrain will perfectly restrict the Manhwa wolves. It gives him the ultimate fighting advantage instead of just running away. Reaching the gorge, he gently places Myra in a secure zone and turns to face the beasts. Igniting his plague dragon powers, he unleashes a lethal strike, instantly wiping out 3 Manhwa wolves in one breath. Yet despite the perfect kill, no EXP drops. His system stats are already completely maxed out. Trash mobs cannot offer him any more growth. With the bloodbath finished, he scoops up Myra again and swiftly advances through the dense woods. As he dashes, his thoughts war with each other. A part of him wants to return her home, but he dreads that heading back now will trigger past tragedies. Exposing his monstrous form could easily get him hunted or killed. This agonizing frustration crushes his spirit, mainly because the language barrier between him and Myra remains unbroken. Then, suddenly, Myra wraps her arms warmly around his neck. Her voice trembles with emotion. Even without translating the words, her raw intent is clear. She is thanking him. Instantly, a system alert echoes in his head, declaring his evolution requirements are finally complete. A glowing holographic list of evolution paths materializes before his eyes. He intensely analyzes every single one, but his first choice is instant. He absolutely rejects the plague dragon route. Evolving further down that cursed path would mutate his aura into a terrifying nightmare. If he becomes a complete monster, Myra would never look at him without trembling in fear. Another epic option in the system is the Dark Drago Human, a literal demi-human class. At first glance, the Manhwa-style title hooks him. Could this finally allow him to revert into a full human? The thrilling possibility spikes his heart rate for a second, but logic quickly kicks back in, and he realizes that such an overpowered cheat skill is a trap. He immediately cools his expectations and scrolls through the rest of his evolution tree. Most of the remaining branches look either wildly demonic in nature or pathetically weak. None of these specs match his ultimate goals. The only class that truly tempts him is the Little Arc Dragon, granting the divine ability to fly alongside white magic mastery. Total aerial dominance sounds incredible, yet the word little is a massive red flag. He predicts choosing a mini evolutionary path might permanently cap his future potential. Failing to lock in a choice, he temporarily pauses the system notification. Just then, Maria tugs his arm, signaling her dire thirst. They swiftly arrive at a crystal waterfall and halt for a drink. While she kneels by the stream, he violently debates his options in his mind. Looking at pure utility, he figures the safest survival routes are either the class granting blinding speed or the one unlocking flight. Out of pure curiosity, he asks Maria which path he should awaken next. As expected, she remains totally clueless what he means. She replies in an alien tongue that first sounds like pure nonsense to his ears. But as her voice flows, something suddenly shifts. One by one, the foreign words click. He realizes that his language mastery skill has leveled up. Her voice rings crystal clear, introducing herself as Myra. Their eyes light up with pure joy now that he understands her, even just a bit. Thrilled, they celebrate their bond by splashing river water and playing freely. As golden hours pass by together, his Greek language skill shoots up. By the time dusk falls, he can grasp almost every word she speaks. Yet, his dragon tongue still cannot form human words to reply. Maria reveals she braved this deadly forest, hunting for her lost comrade Das. Mid-sentence, it dawns on her that he is the very dragon who saved her life. Overwhelmed, she hugs him fiercely. Her warm embrace floods his soul with a foreign, gentle comfort. Deep inside, he silently asks the Venom Princess for forgiveness, cementing his ultimate choice. He locks in the demi-human evolution path, just to stay by Maria's side forever. Later, Maria gazes at him, curiously, asking for his name. It suddenly hits him like a brick he does not own one. He racks his brain, yet no epic title comes to mind. Defeated, he signals that she should be the one to name him. Myra reflects deeply on his heroic deeds, his fierce bravery, his raw power, and his gentle heart. With a bright smile, she proudly names him Aluzia. He finds it incredibly unique. It strikes his core, and he cherishes it instantly. Suddenly, the System's divine voice prompts him to lock in the name Alucia, warning that this binding choice can never be undone. He weighs the massive decision seriously. But since Maria gifted it, it feels perfectly right. He accepts the system's terms. From this very second, he is officially known as Illusia. Illusia basks in his new identity, but the peaceful mood shatters when they hear massive footsteps trembling from the forest depths. Illusia instantly knows what nightmare approaches. He hastily tosses Myra onto his back and starts dashing through the dark woods at top speed. His sole mission is getting Maya to absolute safety at a human village before hunting down the missing Da. But to survive, he must first crush the bloodthirsty wolves tailing him. The savage beasts relentlessly hunt him down, refusing to stop until they finally corner them. Fangs bare as they trap Illusia and Myra on all sides. But then Illusia spots a chilling sight. Da is the one commanding this vicious pack of wolves. His face is dead pale with an utterly deranged glare. Maria immediately recognizes her comrade, screaming to Da about why he leads these monsters. Soon after, Illusia scans his system status window and freezes in shock. Da does not have any stats visible to the system. Mai rushes forward, but a feral wolf suddenly leaps to tear her apart. Illusia flashes into action, blocking the deadly strike, saving her life. In retaliation, Myra unleashes a scorching fireball at Da, blasting him to the hard dirt. As Da collapses, Illusia spots another bizarre detail. Da is clutching a mere lump of mud like it is a priceless divine treasure. Just a heartbeat later, deafening. Thunderous footsteps violently quake the earth from right nearby. Maria freezes in sheer terror, dreading what legendary monster could be creating those. Footsteps echo. Da sharply pivots, racing his mount toward the village. This baffles Illusia. He just couldn't fathom what Da's dark goal for the Rano village was. Suddenly, Myra gasps in sheer terror. She realizes what Da was holding wasn't mere dirt, but a literal disaster. A rock dragon egg. Da's sinister scheme clicks. He is using the egg as bait so the rock dragon will hunt for its stolen child, reducing the village to ashes in its absolute wrath. Those earth-shattering footsteps from before, it's the enraged rock dragon. Closing in. Illusia knows they desperately need to return the rock dragon's egg. Pushing past his limits, he dashes toward the village at top speed, carrying Myra on his back. But the savage Maha wolves are still on their tail, and he knows reaching the village alive is impossible without slaughtering the wolves first. His mind races in pure chaos, struggling to form a solid plan to survive this mess. Suddenly, Maya speaks up, begging him to leave her behind to stall the wolves so he can save the village. But Illusia hesitates. He knows deep down that abandoning Maria to face the wolves alone is an absolute death sentence. Gritting his teeth, he sets her down, channels every ounce of his aura, and unleashes it to crush every Maha wolf. Mid-battle, Maria sustains a glancing scratch from a vicious beast. Illusia quickly checks on her, but Marius just urges him to rush to the village and save their people. He nods. Meanwhile, at the village borders, Gregory is returning from a hunt. A deafening roar echoes from the dark forest, and he freezes, dreading the beast behind the sound. Marielle is still deep in the woods, hunting for Myra. The clueless adventurers are still seeking Da's body, blind to the true nightmare. Da relentlessly charges forward, riding toward the village, with the colossal rock dragon trailing his every move. In the dragon's wake, a mysterious blue slime watches from a safe distance, silently observing the apocalyptic chaos. As Illusia bears Myra on his back, he glances back, a massive wave of relief washing over him. Her wounds aren't too lethal. He assumes she can easily heal herself using a fraction of her recovery magic, but sacrificing her own safety, she channels her remaining mana, pouring every last drop into his battered back. Her selfless gesture makes him realize just how pure Myra's heart truly is. Meanwhile, brave Gregory is standing at the forest edge, suddenly coming face to face with a monstrous Maha wolf. Gripping his spear tightly, he refuses to flinch. The beast lunges, and Gregory meets it head-on. He thrusts his spear right through its heart, slaying it in one flawless strike. The beast's lifeless body crashes down on him. He shoves the heavy corpse aside and staggers to his feet, only to find Illusia looming right over him. Gregory's eyes widen. He recognizes a plague dragon when he sees one. Without a second thought, he readies his bloodied spear for war. But then, Maria steps out from behind the dragon, begging Gregory to stand down. She screams that Illusia is nothing like the vile plague dragons he's heard about. Gregory squints at the towering beast before him, and the truth strikes him. This is the exact same young dragon that valiantly saved Mia before. He lowers his spear, bowing in deep apology to Illusia for raising his blade today and for his past sins. Illusia breathes a sigh of relief, glad to see Gregory coming around. Mai reveals everything to Gregory. She exposes how Da is plotting to use the rock dragon's egg as deadly bait to lure the beast straight to the village. Gregory absorbs this, instantly grasping the catastrophic threat. With disaster looming, he turns to Illusia. "Can I ride on your back?" Illusia nods. Meanwhile, Da strolls back into the village with eerie calm. The villagers gasp, shocked he's alive, completely oblivious to the nightmare he's brewing. But their jaws hit the floor when Myra and Gregory suddenly descend upon the dreaded plague dragon. The rock dragon's terrifying roars already echo in the distance. Gregory knows time is their biggest enemy now. He barks out a frantic plan. He and Illusia will clash with the rock dragon directly. Mai will stay back to lead the urgent evacuation, since her fresh injuries keep her sidelined. Illusia eagerly agrees with this battle strategy. For one simple reason, he refuses to let Maria face any deadly danger. Maria hates the bitter taste of standing by while they risk their lives, but logic wins over her pride. In her current state, she'd only be a heavy burden. Swallowing her fear, she watches them take off. As they soar, Gregory grips Ulysses' scales and makes a heavy, heart-pounding promise. "When we survive this, I'll proudly present you to everyone as my ally." He wants the entire village to recognize Illusia as a true hero. Illusia's heart swells at those fateful words. A profound warmth stirs. This is his lifelong dream to coexist peacefully, breaking the chains of monstrous prejudice. And soon, he won't just be accepted, he'll be hailed as a savior. It feels like a beautiful illusion, but back down in the J village, Da unleashes absolute carnage. Sword drawn, he massacres livestock and ruthlessly slaughters an innocent villager without batting an eye. The crowd freezes in sheer terror, their minds shatter, trying to process this gruesome betrayal. The man who mysteriously vanished has returned as a cold-blooded killer. Just then, Gregory and Ella's crash the scene. The chaos hits a boiling point. Why is their protector riding a fearsome plague dragon? Gregory projects his booming voice over the screaming mob. "Stay back and listen," he roars. "Illusia is not our enemy, he's fighting for us." But before that bombshell revelation can even sink in, the earth violently quakes. The rock dragon is here. Gregory doesn't waste a single second. "Evacuate now. Run for your lives," he bellows with urgency. Panicked villagers scatter like ants escaping a flood. But amidst the chaos, a tiny boy named Jean stays paralyzed, hiding desperately behind a wooden crate. Da locks onto Gregory, launching a vicious strike that sends him skidding backward. Illusia intercepts instantly, crushing Da's assault. In a flash, Illusia sees the perfect opening to end him forever. But he restrains his fatal claw. Slaying a human, even a vile traitor, would merely validate the horrific monster myth they painted of him. So instead of a kill, he simply knocks Da cold. Witnessing this profound mercy, Gregory watches his last, lingering doubts vanish. Illusia truly is the noble soul Maria described. Now, Illusia's gaze snaps to the egg. He must secure it before the colossal beast strikes. But Da's eyes snap open. Illusia stares, deeply unsettled. Is Da even human? A chilling doubt creeps into his mind. He opens his status window, and his blood runs cold. Da's power level matches the ferocious Manhwa wolves. No ordinary human possesses such monstrous stats. But before Illusia can process this dark truth, Da locks his eyes onto a hiding Jean and takes the boy hostage. A cold blade ruthlessly presses against Jean's throat. Then, pure nightmare fuel unfolds. Da unhinges his jaw, and a grotesque slime tentacle erupts. It catapults him atop the giant water tower in a blink. Illusia freezes in sheer horror. Monstrous stats, slime appendages. Whatever Da is, he is definitely a monster in disguise. Suddenly, the rock dragon obliterates the tree line. Da dangles the egg over the deadly drop. Illusia explodes forward, pushing his agility to the absolute limit. But Da plays a cruel trick. He hurls Jean into the abyss. Illusia faces a heartbreaking dilemma. Abandoning his strike, he dives desperately toward the falling boy. A flawless catch. Jean is safe, but gravity claims a different victim. Da plunges down, mercilessly slamming the dragon egg into the unforgiving earth. It shatters into countless pieces. The rock dragon witnesses its crushed offspring. Absolute despair morphs into catastrophic rage. An earth-shattering roar pierces the sky. It rampages, triggering violent tremors that threaten to tear the world apart. As the choking dust clears, Illusia firmly shields Jean with his body. He grits his teeth and glares at the towering behemoth. despair washes over him. A complete nightmare scenario has just unfolded, and the heavy guilt is entirely his. If only he had ruthlessly executed Da. Earlier, this catastrophic bloodbath could have been easily avoided. He shoots a venomous glare at Da, but freezes. The madman is weirdly flailing. In a bizarre, rhythmic dance, without warning, the rampaging beast stomps down, instantly flattening Da into a bloody pulp. Elusia blinks at the gruesome karma, quickly refocusing on the apocalypse at hand. His resolve hardens like steel. Turning swiftly, he commands Gregory to evacuate Jean and fall back immediately. The lone hero plans to stall this mountain of rage by himself. Gregory snatches the trembling boy. No time for debates, but he shoots Elusia an intense, burning stare. Survive. Dying here is strictly forbidden. Elusia nods silently. He pivots to confront the colossal apex predator. Its terrifying aura dwarfs any enemy he has ever battled. The monstrous power gap is brutally obvious, yet retreating is utterly out of the question. He might not slay it, but he will buy his comrades their precious escape. That is a noble cause worth dying for. Emitting a fierce war cry, Elusia dashes into the jaws of death, unlocking every dormant skill, unleashing every ounce of magical combat power he possesses. Yet, his ultimate assault barely scratches the crust beast's iron scales. The dragon scoffs, delivering bone-crushing counterattacks that push Elusia to the brink of death. The towering titan prepares its fatal execution strike. But wait, a battle roar echoes. Gregory charges back into the fray, rallying a fierce squad of veteran adventurers. They clash against the behemoth in desperate unity, guarding their fallen comrade. A spark of hope ignites. Their synchronized magical bombardment miraculously destroys the dragon's right eye. The tides of fate seemingly begin to shift. But hope is a cruel illusion. The beast shakes off the pain, unleashing a devastating shockwave of pure destruction. Bodies fly backward. The brave warriors crumble, completely shattered and paralyzed by exhaustion. Amidst the carnage, a battered Elusia desperately searches for a miracle. Suddenly, the enigmatic divine voice echoes in his mind. The system announces it hit level 4. Its cold advice: flee right now, escape, and survive this ordeal. The voice plainly states it observed him this whole time, knowing he will never listen, but it warns him anyway. Elusia angrily yells at it to shut up. These useless words will not save them, he thinks. Desperately, his only real hope of surviving is evolving into a new form. But the massive problem is choosing the perfect evolution path. Instantly, the system calculates, laying out his tragic options. If he becomes a little Archdragon, his victory chance is a mere 4%. If he picks Gormanjand, the odds of a brutal draw skyrocket to 98%. But after that apocalyptic clash, the village would be total ash. Elusia instantly rejects both. What is the point of living or tying the battle if every single person he swore to protect ends up dead? If he turns into a rolling dragon, his victory chance drops below 1%, though his odds of a cowardly escape exceed 99%. He unleashes a soul-crushing, desperate roar. His blazing frustration explodes. Every single path this system offers leads to a tragic fate he refuses to accept. He is utterly trapped in despair. Meanwhile, the elite adventurers in the dark forest suddenly catch a terrifying shockwave, blasting from the village. The earth-shattering roar forces them to stop in their tracks. Panic sets in as they realize a catastrophic disaster has struck their home. They instantly turn back, sprinting to face the deadly unknown. Simultaneously, Maria and Marielle are desperately guiding the terrified villagers to the safe zone. Scanning the panicked crowd, Maria gasps in horror, realizing several people are still missing in the chaos. Suddenly, through the dust, Jean emerges. He is slumped weakly on another survivor's back. His blood-soaked body screams of near-fatal injuries. The breathless survivors frantically report the nightmare to Maria. They reveal that brave Gregory is making a final stand at the cemetery, fighting the monstrous rock dragon, entirely alone. Hearing this suicide mission, Marielle's eyes blaze with resolve. She will rush back to join the deadly fray. She commands Maria to hold the line, right here, and save the wounded. Her divine healing magic is absolutely critical for their survival. However, Myra fiercely refuses to hide in safety. She declares she has stabilized everyone here, and her instincts scream that more innocent victims are bleeding out in the village right now. She insists there could be dying souls lost in the forest too, making her presence absolutely vital on the front lines. Marielle realizes Maria's logic is flawless. With a heavy sigh of respect, she nods, allowing Maria to charge into the literal jaws of death. Back at the ruins, Elusia faces an agonizing, fateful choice. Which bloody evolution path will save them? He theorizes that evolving Into the little arc dragon might unlock miracle healing magic to save his dying friends. But the exact second hope sparks, that cold divine voice echoes within his mind. It cruelly warns that taking this merciful evolution path plunges his odds against the rock dragon below 4%. Even worse, making this noble sacrifice drops his actual chance of saving his fallen comrades to a pathetic sub 1%. These doomed stats ignite Elusia's blinding rage. He viciously launches forward, slamming his entire weight into the rock dragon. A skull-crushing blow. He frantically dashes to Gregory's side. The grim sight shatters him. Gregory lies crushed between two massive boulders, losing blood fast. Desperate, Elusia makes a heavy choice. He must evolve into the little arc dragon to unlock life-saving recovery magic. But a bloody hand suddenly grabs him. Gregory stops him, coughing up blood. He reminds Elusia of his true nature. A plague dragon has zero obligation to save human lives. Yet, the dying man speaks a chilling truth. He knows Elusia is suppressing his monstrous potential. Plague dragons grow through devouring flesh and harvesting raw power. With his dying breath, he begs Elusia to consume his body. Horrified, Elusia frantically rejects the twisted idea. He tries to explain that this path to power is false. A dragon's true strength stems from evolving into higher tiers. But as the words leave his lips, a horrifying realization strikes Elusia. The dying man's crazy theory holds weight. The plague dragon route was never unlocked in his system tree. The hidden condition? Taking a human life. The macabre puzzle pieces finally align. Bleeding out, Gregory stares into Elusia's eyes with unwavering resolve. Even if Elusia crosses this dark line, his soul remains pure. He begs the beast to remember his heroic past. He has bled to protect this realm and shielded innocent lives. Now, Elusia holds the ultimate power to save the entire village from annihilation. Gregory refuses to let his own fragile life doom them all. With a peaceful smile, he forces Elusia's razor-sharp claw against his throat. The dragon trembles, soul torn by agonizing hesitation. But the cruel reality of fate leaves no alternative. If he hesitates, the rock dragon will slaughter everyone. Choking back tears, Elusia makes the ultimate sacrifice. His claw flashes, taking Gregory's life. Instantly, the system voice echoes. Level up achieved. The cursed plague dragon evolution path is finally unlocked. With a heart full of resolve, Elusia abandons all hesitation. He triggers the dark evolution. Instantly, his entire biology violently mutates. His skeletal frame expands, exploding with terrifying, raw muscle mass. The gruesome transformation finishes as Elusia crashes onto the space battlefield. He carves a blood oath into his soul. He will obliterate the enemy. Fueled by the tragic sacrifice of his human friend, Elusia clashes with the rock dragon once more. The two colossal beasts lock horns in an earth-shattering struggle. But Elusia quickly notices his enemy's overwhelming, crushing mass. Outmatched in brute force, he instantly pivots his battle tactic. Abandoning a frontal assault, he takes to the ever-more skies, circling his prey like a predator. This aerial supremacy will be the key to destroying the Titan. Meanwhile, Maria and Marielle finally sprint back into the ruined village. They frantically scan the horizon for the epic clash of dragons. But an eerie silence fills the air. There is zero trace of the Titans. Suddenly, Horus emerges from the shadows to meet them. His pale face screams pure terror from the absolute nightmare he just witnessed. In dead silence, he guides the group straight to Gregory's mangled remains. Horus drops a massive bombshell. Elusia brutally slaughtered Gregory. Hearing this dark truth, Maria freezes in utter disbelief. Her mind outright rejects this grim reality. The Elusia she remembers was gentle, never a bloodthirsty monster. Horus grimly explains that after taking Gregory's life, Elusia violently mutated into a giant beast. He then dragged the colossal rock dragon's aggro toward the village's eastern border. Maria's brain short-circuits at this horrific revelation. But cutting through the panic, Marielle snaps them back to reality. They cannot afford to panic now. Innocent lives are bleeding out. Saving the injured villagers is their absolute priority. Meanwhile, like an action Manhwa hero, Elusia fiercely battles the rock dragon. He unleashes his newly awakened skill, the devastating whirlwind slash, striking with full, lethal force. But as the massive dust clears from the heavy impact, Elusia watches in absolute horror. That ultimate strike barely scratched the beast's HP. Physical attacks are useless. Desperately scanning for a critical weak point, Elusia fiercely dashes forward, locking his sights onto the monstrous dragon's head. With surgical precision, a lethal strike beautifully obliterates the beast's final working eye. Elusia thinks he secured the winning advantage, but the battlefield instantly turns nightmarish. Blinded and enraged, the rock dragon goes completely berserk, charging blindly toward the helpless village. Realizing the catastrophic danger, Olusia immediately intercepts its path. He firmly anchors his feet into the cracked earth, bracing to tank the incoming devastation. Back at the camp, Marielle frantically coordinates the urgent medical treatment for bleeding villagers. Amidst the chaos, she desperately calls out for Myra, but scanning the panic-stricken crowd, an awful realization hits her. Myra has vanished. Marielle's heart drops into her stomach. A terrifying thought crosses her mind. Did that foolish girl run off alone to fight the legendary rock dragon? Meanwhile, Alicia agonizingly struggles to hold back the rampaging behemoth's crushing weight. The two titans clash violently, locking horns in an earth-shattering test of strength. But the horrific gap in base stats shows. Alicia is slowly getting crushed. On the brink of defeat, an awakened system skill flashes, Dragon Scale Powder. This deadly ability erupts, releasing a thick, toxic cloud from his very pores. As the venomous fog engulfs the colossal beast, Alicia is absolutely stunned. The poison is dealing massive chip damage. Observing the writhing monster closely, Alicia spots a glaring structural flaw. The beast's armored neck is bizarrely thin compared to its massive, tank-like body. His gamer instincts flare up. That must be its critical hit zone. Instantly shifting his entire combat strategy, he unleashes a blinding flurry of rapid strikes directly at the highly vulnerable throat, hammering the exact same spot relentlessly. Then he triggers his deadly execution skill, Neckbreaker. A glowing red target system perfectly highlights the beast's fatal weak point. Focusing every ounce of his remaining aura into one ultimate devastating attack, he delivers a legendary finishing blow. The mighty rock dragon violently collapses, utterly defeated. The second the deathmatch concludes, Olusia's drained body immediately drops to the earth. His stamina is completely zeroed out. In that triumphant moment, the divine voice echoes. He has acquired 384 glorious experience points. He phenomenally skyrockets from level 1 straight to level 19 for slaying the boss. As consciousness returns, Olusia slowly opens his eyes. Standing right before him is Myra. Gazing at his massive form, she hesitantly asks if he's truly Olusia. His terrifying evolution makes him completely unrecognizable. "Did you evolve again?" she gasps. But before our mighty dragon can even speak, a blinding sphere of light violently blasts him out of nowhere. It's Marielle. The fierce mage screams at Myra to run away from this monster. Before it's too late, but Myra desperately jumps in to defend her Olusia. She begs Marielle to stop, swearing this gentle beast would never hurt a soul. But Marielle coldly fires back. "Have you forgotten? This monster murdered Gregory." Yet, Myra refuses to back down, trusting that her beloved Olusia would never kill without a dark motive. There absolutely has to be a deeper reason. Suddenly, a terrifying anomaly occurs. Olusia is lethal. Scale powder violently erupts from his body. The toxic, suffocating mist slowly floods the air, creeping dangerously close to Myra. Witnessing this horror, Olusia faces a soul-crushing reality. His overwhelming demonic aura has transformed him into a beast too toxic to ever stay by her side again. In heartbreaking silence, Olusia gently pushes Myra away. This unexpected movement startles Marielle. Mistaking his care for a ruthless strike, she unleashes another explosive light sphere. Absorbing the blow, Olusia spreads his massive wings and takes flight. With a heavy heart, he bids a silent farewell to Myra. Marielle instantly rushes to the girl's side, casting a frantic healing spell to purge the toxic air. Though completely cured from the venom, Myra is left completely paralyzed by shock. Why would her gentle Olusia just abandon her? Miles away from the village, Olusia stares at his dark reflection in a crystal pool. Examining his demonic evolution, he marvels at the raw, imposing muscle mass of his new form. With such overwhelming, brute strength, no terrifying monster could ever stand in his way. While scanning the area, a mysterious, glowing flower catches his beastly eye. The system voice suddenly echoes, revealing this rare plant is actually the Olusia flower, a legendary bloom thriving only in deadly monster territories. Because of this extreme danger, they are near impossible to harvest. Legend says it symbolizes absolute courage. Hearing this lore, a heartbreaking memory strikes his mind. He remembers Myra gifting him this exact name, believing him to be a brave and noble hero. This sweet memory now only brings him agonizing despair. His claws are stained with human blood. How can a murderer ever claim to be a hero? But the cold system voice strictly warns that his chosen name is permanently locked. Crushed by guilt, Olusia collapses in utter despair. He screams at the heavens. Why was he reincarnated into this brutal world? And what is his true miserable purpose. Suddenly, an eerie rustling noise emerges from the shadowy bushes nearby, but the depressed dragon doesn't even care to look. To his shattered soul, absolutely nothing matters anymore. That concludes episode 10.